Welcome, everybody, to our forecast and discussion for February 2019 energies here within our Sacred Self Healing community. I'm wishing you guys a wonderful end of January. January was really, really exhausting energetically. Even, if we didn't really have anything big going on in our lives, it was just exhausting to stay present with our own inner schisms. And this will continue in February, guys, just so you know. Also, some of that manifestation power and the frustration that we feel with what we are trying to do, what we are trying to manifest, all the New Year's resolutions that we had, and all these good intentions, and how those kind of felt like they were suffocated right on day two. Literally, like going into January, like all bushy tailed and motivated, and then like literally, like the first couple of days, it's like, and all you heard was your inner voice, either procrastinating or, giving you stories, oh, why not? Or, doubting yourself, so strong. I mean, it was just like going from being your inner motivator to being your inner judge and devastator, like within a matter of hours. Yeah, so these are the kind of distractions that we deal with, that we have to contend with, and there is this part in us when we are on the self-healing journey where we really try to pay attention and be in the present moment, that we have to accept and love regardless. We have to understand that this is part of our psyche, and that this entire um, journey here in this time that we've chosen to incarnate in has to do with us really figuring this out. And I say figuring this out on purpose because a part of that has to be figured out mentally. We really have to get our mind into the boat with what is going on, and the fact that we are a soul with a body, and that we have to straddle two worlds. And yes, there are things that we can feel coming in through our higher perception, and we can maybe even see a vision of ourselves in the future. But then we also have a 3D, and that 3D part of us, wants to have financial security, wants to have a relationship or a business, or certain things. It also has karma, and it also has trauma, and it also has wounding. Okay, and that's the part that keeps throwing us off. Okay, so this disruption that I've predicted for January was not just, on an outer way, it was also on an inner way. You fall for it, and then 5 minutes later, you're like, I can't believe I fell for this again, And so it's really about the discipline here, and we're going to talk about this for February, to stay centered, to breathe through it, to see it, to witness it, to choose to witness it, and say, oh, okay, yeah, I know that part of me. Apparently, this still has a grip on me. So if this can be triggered so easily, then that means I still have to work with this. But working with this not in the sense of trying harder, doing more, meditate this away. No, working with this in the sense of like, okay, what am I resisting here? What is it that I'm not really wanting to see? Where does this collide, with my ideas, my thoughts, my concepts, or, how I want things or how I expect things to be? Or where does this collide with my emotions, with my expectations, with my hopes and dreams? And this is where you will find the answers. Okay, there's a part in us that, regardless of how much intellectual understanding of our psyche we develop, will have the power, to pull us into our core wounding. It's the core wounding that we're dealing with, guys. And this whole entire year, actually the next 2 years. Okay, 2020 is going to be the big year. It's all about that. That's why I called the energy forecast for 2019 resiliency. And it so happens that, this beginning here of 2019 already gives us the taste. It's foreshadowing for what resiliency means and for um, the the tools that are needed to get through this, where they're where we can find them within ourselves. So it's a wonderful reminder that this is all an inside job. This is all coming from inside. The way we perceive, the way we experience our life circumstances, what we have to face, the things that we have to go through, does not depend on whatever we think, how much money we have, or which partner we are with, or what we can accomplish in a 3D sense. It has to do with how much we can accept and love ourselves regardless of some of these core wounds that we have. But the overall tendency here, and this is why this is actually a positive and an optimistic message, is that by fully being present with our core wounding, we're beginning to understand what it actually is that we came here for. And why am I saying this? It's simple, because if you look at the larger picture, and this is something that, all this work here that we do within the Sacred Self-Healing community enables you to do. It enables you to see past your pain, past your karma, past your inner child, past your shadow. There is there's a message there. There's a cue there. Okay, it determines your karmic task. And if you can decode that, and I don't mean this in such a technical way as I make it sound, but if you can decode what it is, that you bump against, sort of as this illusion, this matrix illusion. There's the inner matrix that you have, which is, that's part of your energy signature. That's part of your personal stuff. And then there's the outer matrix, which is the collective. Okay, this is why I do these energy updates, because it's not just you and yourself separated from the rest of the world. Our job here is to balance that a little more. But really what it is us being a part of it, us being in it, okay, but not necessarily needing to be off it. So we have the outer matrix, the outer collective energies that influence, the oscillation, the ups and downs of our energy. And it's our job, to maneuver and to navigate through this in a stable way, to like maintain our course, to maintain our focus. And in the practice of doing this, and I want to emphasize I want to emphasize this or emphasize the practice and the process aspect of that. It's a continual process, guys. And each time you get past some of your limitations, you're going to face a new challenge. And that challenge is not there to throw you back. No, that challenge comes because you've outvibrated the previous challenge. And now it's up to you, to contextualize this as like, okay, I guess that means I'm growing. That means I got promoted, right? When you get promoted, then you have new responsibilities, you have new tasks, you have new challenges. You need to grow. And these 2 years here that are ahead of us are all about this growth, really growing into our true self, our authentic self, including our karmic task, our soul contract, why we came here. And those of us who can learn to love ourselves in that process. And I use the word love here on purpose because it's not just about mentally accepting that or seeing that from a spiritual standpoint. No, you have to really be able to stay in love as you're doing this. Love what you feel, what you think, what you do, what you are at all times. Then you've got the key to withstand anything in 3D, in 5D, whatever D, etherically, because this is your greatest power. This is what builds your shield. We can see this, guys, energetically, how that strengthens a person. So, the New Age movement was actually right. Love and light can heal it all, just not the way they thought. Remember what I said in the beginning of the year for the forecast for 2019. This year is all about what you ingest on all levels, physically, emotionally, mentally, relationship wise, what you allow in, what you surround yourself, and who you are with. So this discipline extends to all these different aspects of life, not just, your ideas and concepts. No, this is about truly manifesting this everywhere. And when you get to this place where all you can say to yourself, okay, I have absolutely no clue, none of what I'm trying to do is working, remember how far you've come. Remember how much you have already healed, out-vibrated, overcome by or through listening to your inner guidance. As a reminder to once more trust in your inner guidance. And what am I communicating to myself with this choice? When I decline something that I already know is toxic or dysfunctional for me, regardless of how much I'm used to it, quote unquote, okay, regardless of how familiar I am with it, we are communicating to ourselves that we are worth more. We are deserving, we are belonging, we are loved. So we have to look at the things that we agree to, because the things we agree to are the things that we are communicating back to ourselves. That is what sets us up for the future. That's what I call the alignment in the moment of making a choice. If I'm communicating to myself that I'm not worth it, I can't do it, I have to go back to, hurting myself, or to disregarding my needs, or to, literally allow my boundaries to be violated, or, whatever my values, my integrity is, to be compromised, then I'm telling myself that I'm not worth it. And I'm setting myself up in the future for these kind of experiences, that confirm this. So we have to follow up on our red flags. What happens if we don't? When you don't follow up your red flag, you're going to have to live with this mental schism in you that constantly ponders, what would have happened if I did it? Well, I should have done this. Or the regrets, or this constant inner conflict, okay? You have to allow yourself to resolve it. The forecast for February 2019 called Cause or Consequence. The big subjects here for February will be, really internalizing karmic truths, learning how to move from passion and excessiveness into compassion, learning what emotional spiritual maturity really means, and learning how to push through our frustrations, disappointments, and disillusionments, how to push through our expectations and our inner fluctuations. The whole month of February will be almost like a foreshadowing of the next 2 years. It will like really tell us and show us what resiliency means. Okay. So as we are going through a new energy that is coming in right now, so you can also feel this as a new beginning. Okay. Many of us feel this as invigorating, as motivating, as empowering. But then at the same time, also, it's like really scary, really sort of lost in a way for direction. Okay, so we feel this energy coming up, and then we don't know where to go with this, and then our critical inner voice hits us, and we end up in our mental emotional schisms. So the coming 4 or 5 weeks here in February, they carry the signature of general confusion, within ourselves and the collective. Okay, so we will have to plow through this and learn how to contextualize what we're experiencing so that we don't get pulled into this exhausting distraction. Like you felt this in February. It was exhausting, even if we had nothing going on in our lives. It was just exhausting to live with our inner turmoils, our inner ups and downs. So strong waves of exhilaration are followed by intense critical inner voice. And this will leave us in a place of constantly doubting, this is exhausting, God. This is what drains you. And really what it is an inner conflict not to face something. Okay, so there's a fear there, there's a pain there that we're not fully willing to face yet. So instead of actually facing it, instead of actually moving toward the healing of it, we get overwhelmed and tired out by our daily struggle, by this daily insanity within and around us. And so in February, many of us will feel a bit powerless, will feel a bit lost there. So we get to look at the general context here for the collective, and there is this general directionlessness there, and almost like a collective ADHD, where old powers are struggling and where sort of new powers are trying to come in, and it's not quite yet coming through. It will come with a lot of interference through, collective stuff, through planetary stuff, through media, and so forth. Earthquakes and changing weather patterns, these like really strong storms. Okay, so the word storm will be a word that we'll hear a lot in February. Will distract us and they'll bring in stuff, but also unrest amongst people, because this emotional mental schism that is continuing here in this insanity collectively will distract us. It will have the power to distract us from our personal goals, from our intentions, and our visions. So we need to work on our attention span, on our discipline, and need to really develop ways that allow us to stay in focus so that we don't get sidetracked. February is not going to go easy, guys. It will remind us of our deepest wounding, our deepest fears. And that's why it's so important to face that, to go through, to follow through with this. We will feel alone and disappointed at times, and maybe where we hoped we would get support isn't coming through. So there's disillusionment and disappointment here in February. Many unresolved issues will pop up for us. And so it'd be challenging to stay focused, but this is really what we need to remind ourselves. So giving you this heads up here, when you go into this place of powerlessness or overwhelm, stay focused, stay focused, stay focused. And the easiest way to stay focused is to remind yourself of focusing on your breath. And with it, if you've already learned how to do heart breathing or the I am breathing technique that I'm suggesting, if not, look it up on the transCODES website. Just remember to breathe, really into your center, into your heart, so that you can feel in the present moment again. Otherwise, it's too easy to get stuck in the drama and the frustration, either of the pain of the past or the fear of the future, which can then lead you to wanting to give up, to throw the towel and go back to your old ways. So the need for more spiritual and emotional maturity here in February affects our relationships big time. So February is not just a month of Valentine's Day, it's often also the month of recapping and also formulating new plans. This is where a lot of the proposals happen, because we make a commitment. But when things are not working out the way we had hoped or expected, then what we often do is that we begin to rationalize our emotions. And for relationships, this often leads to us projecting, our frustrations or our fragmentation on our partner. So if you find yourself constantly ruminating about the other, and how to change her or what he needs to do differently in order to accomplish, happiness or love in your relationship, then you know that you're being sidetracked, and you know that you're off focus. This month is about learning how to become a better partner and not how to control the other better. Pushing through your own wounding means to be willing to own your stuff, to allow your shadow, to allow your doubts to come forward, and to consciously go into self-healing with it. This will allow you then to follow through and to trust in your true heart's desire. Because you can only feel this when you're congruent within. When this is overshadowed by all this overwhelmment, the fears and the pain and the disappointments and all that, the heartbreak, you can't actually feel your true heart's desire. So the next month, it's really about you getting to the core of how you want your life, how you want your love to be. Whether you want it this way at all. Whether you're okay to live with this. So many of us don't even ask ourselves if this is okay for us. We're so hooked on trying to change the other that we never even ask ourselves, is this good enough for me? So this, challenge here in our relationships will lead us to better understanding what the word fantasy bond means. And if you would like to read up on this, February is also a wonderful month for learning, for increasing our understanding of things, then grab a book from Lisa Firestone called Fantasy Bonds. She is a psychotherapist, and she has a wonderful way of explaining how the majority of marriages and relationships fail because people actually follow the idea of the relationship, but not the partner, really. Yes, and I know this isn't what we want to hear, but there is a great opportunity in this, namely to learn how to unhook ourselves from all our karmic relationships, our karmic stuff, all these ties, that we have with people. Just because it's always been that way, or just because we are so used to it, or even grew up like this, doesn't mean that we have to agree to it to continue. We have the right to claim things to be the way we want them, but not through force, not through trying to control the other or control the situation, but through continuing, to work on ourselves. If you continue doing the same thing you've always done, then you're basically setting yourself up for disappointment. So it will be of utmost importance for you to stay on what you can feel within as your true heart's desire, what you came here for. And this often leads to the need to do a little bit of karma work, to look at your karmic setup and all that. This is what, energy healers and energy coaches are for, to give you a roadmap for this. Many of you have intuitively felt the pull to look at your relationship or money issues from this karmic perspective. And this is, something where you will find a cue. The cue is your karmic role that you have agreed to incorporate here in this lifetime. So keep looking at this. What is your karmic role? What is it that you, in your essence, what you truly incarnate here? Are you a teacher? Are you a healer? Are you a lover? Are you a mother? Are you a father? Look at the archetypes, karmic archetypes. They can help with this. And don't mistake this with role models, okay? We've already established that there are very few role models here in our society that can show us the way, that can show us, the healed masculine and feminine and people, the healed heart mind, there's very few role models. So this is our challenge here as awakened people, that we already know where it needs to go, but it still feels like we are the only ones seeing it that way. Just know that it's super important to look at your patterns and repeats in your life and recognize that sometimes you have to push through or break through some of those. Okay, it won't go easy. Your ego will try to talk you into going back into the old ways. But know that when you do that, the frustration and the disillusionment and the pain and the heartbreak that you're experiencing right now is reinforced that way. You're energizing that. So you're setting yourself up for failure, basically, and continue running into circles. Anything that is incongruent or that doesn't really move you into the direction of finding deeper inner fulfillment is going to show itself as a major drag or a major struggle. So pay attention to your struggles. Okay, there's cue as well. It's a red flag. Okay, pay attention to your daily exposures. What you ingest, what you think, what you allow in, what you surround yourself with, whom you're with. All the way down to food and water and exercise and, emotional toxicity and narcissists in your life and dysfunctionalities, codependencies and so forth, addictions and so forth. All that aligns your energy. So every time you do something that violates your values, your loyalties, your integrity, you are setting yourself up for this lower vibratory stuff in the future. But there's a message in there for you. So look at it, follow up on your red flags, and if you can find the key in there, okay, that can help you, to understand the importance of really being in the present moment and not getting pulled into the fear of the future or the pain of the past. The key to purpose and fulfillment is in what you have been resisting all along. So overall, February will bring in new opportunities, especially for those of you who are planning on, either implementing a new marketing strategy or launching a new product or even starting your own business. This is a really good time for redoing your finances, your income, the way you make money, to really move into this place where you honestly can say, I love what I'm doing. Okay, so all this is possible here in February, especially the first 2 weeks. But only if you're willing to look at and work with your disillusionment and, go and revisit it, once you are in a better place. Same with your relationship issues. You need to discipline yourself to revisit once you are out of the drama, then go back and now look at it from a more centered, more stabilized way. This work will have to do with your boundaries, and I'm expecting that here at transCODES we're going to do a lot of boundary works for you guys in the Sacred Self-Healing community. We're going to do a workshop on how to do boundary work. But the main thing is, that you have to understand that there's a layer of deception and crazy making coming in through the collective, okay? And it's not all yours, but you have to ask yourself how or why, this is affecting you, and also maybe how you've been enabling this in the past. Oftentimes people get to this place where they actually have to look at what they are accepting as normal, Okay, what are we accepting as normal? Is this really normal? Often it's not, individually and collectively. So just because it's always been that way doesn't mean that it's true or that it's good. There's a cue in everything. So focus on staying in your inner center and seek answers on the inside. This is an inside job, guys. What you resist, your inner child, your karma, your trauma, your shadow, your critical inner voice, no matter how chaotic the energies on the outside, your job will be to sit through this, to observe, to stay centered, and to shift your energy so that you can learn to trust in your higher power. So if you can do this, you'll notice and witness, how in times like this, other people externalize their powers and you don't want to do this anymore. Okay? As an awakened person, incongruences don't work for you. Okay, you have to internalize your higher power. Don't be one of them. Okay, focus on your inner radiance and find out, experience it for yourself, what the silent power can do for you, how the universe conspires to work towards you once you stand up for your true heart's desire and claim it. This is the energetic power that comes from within you, guys, why this is an inside job. And it expresses in the ability to see higher vibratory solutions and make more advantageous choices for your future, merely based on trust and the inner guidance that is coming in from within your heart. Without knowing the answer, without knowing the fix, without needing to control the outcome. That's what trust means. And February will be the month for us to practice that. Chakras involved here in February will be 1st and 5th together. So that has to do with our stance in life and our ability to show up, to present ourselves to the world. And we're going to have to learn, when it's time for us to shine and when it's time for us to shut up. We are like, once we discover these powers in us, we are like a raw diamond. Okay, we don't look like anything yet. Okay, this needs to be polished. And how do we do this? Through our hearts, through our heart chakra. And what are we up against? We're up against the barrier between our mind and our heart, the barrier between our 3rd and our 4th chakra, the barrier between force versus power, barrier between our ego and our true self. So that will lead the way for February. And I hope you guys are as excited as I am. I'm very excited about February because I know that it will help me and many like yourselves to push through things, really push through your wounding and to experience healing firsthand. Thank you, guys. This concludes the forecast for February. Enjoy the challenge, okay, even if it gets rough sometimes, and share. Find like-minded people. There's a huge healing power in sharing. Thank you. So off you go. Chop, chop. Next. Love you guys. Bye-bye.